Welcome back to Road Gang Radio. Join Jimmy Mack and Lindsay Lawler's Gang of the Airwaves by subscribing to Radio Nemo on YouTube.
We celebrate all kinds.
Make it official. After all, if you're listening, you're already in the gang. The Road Gang.
I can't tell you the number of people out there who are in the chat, along with Joe J., the Paranormal Pie Man, of course, the Touchdown Turtle herself, Bruce Almighty, Craig, Earl and Joe Noble, Ten Ring, all of our friends out there. Good morning to you. You are all, actually, every single name I just mentioned is an original member of the reconstituted Road Gang. So thrilled to have you. And we got a couple of guests, by the way, one of whom I know for a fact, Amundo, is a longtime fan of Dave Nemo and the Road Gang. Jimmy Mack here, taking you down the road. Phone Master Dre, we may have a special guest drop in just a little bit here, so we'll keep an eye out for him as well. But let's say good morning to Jim Fisher and Big Mike Schnepf. They're joining us this morning, not Schnapps, Schnepf. We got that right finally. They're instructors at Tennessee College of Applied Technology, Dickson. That's TCAT Dickson, and they're joining us this morning. So Jim, Mike, good morning. Welcome to Education Station.
Well, good morning to you.
Good morning.
What I will do, I make a promise to both of you guys. I will not let this turn into a Howard Hawks movie, and I will actually try to use your names as best I can in the questions so we don't get into overlapping dialogue. Welcome aboard. It's good to have you on the Road Gang. So, Jim, let's kind of start off by giving us just an overview, okay? Just kind of give us a look at what TCAT is, and then we can talk about what's going to be going on at the Clarksville campus in a second here. So let's talk about TCAT Dickson. Give us the overview.
Well, TCAT Dickson, we're actually a TCAT Dickson at Clarksville, so our campus is in Clarksville. We're a sub-campus of Dickson, Tennessee, and it's a Tennessee College of Applied Technology. It's basically a vocational school that does about 13 or 14 different, from nursing, nursing and pharmaceutical, and welding, HVAC. We do the truck driving program that's launching on October 6th. We have a computer IT program, but it's a good start. It's a good place for people to get vocational tools. Some of the classes range from ours is only about 2 months to some of them are about 2 years, 20 months max. And Levi, you might want to.
Yeah, we are just a full range vocational school covering 7 counties right here in Middle Tennessee, just a little bit west of Nashville. Like Jim said, we have 17 programs that we currently have, 18 once you include truck driving, and we are really excited about our trucks.
Let me kind of talk about this too, because you guys probably being on the ground floor for all of this stuff. And by the way, we have a certain love of Clarksville over here, since one of the most important people that works for us, Miss Tara Garris, the Turtle of Touchdowns, she lives over in Clarksville. It's really it's a lovely, lovely place. But talk to me about what you guys are noticing. Mike, we'll start with you. In regards to, you guys are going to be getting up to gear in October, but talk to me a little bit about the brightness of the future in regards to the technical colleges, to the technical schools. Do you feel like you're beginning to see more and more younger people say, you know what, I'm going to forego the 4-year college degree and try to build something that's more a DIY thing? I have friends of mine who have done 2-year programs in a trade while simultaneously getting an associate's degree in a foreign language so they can work on the border. It's kind of a choose-your-own-adventure world we're moving into. Is that a fair assessment, Mike?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Being 50 years old, I've got a lot of friends that have went to 4-year institutions and have a lot of college debt, and they're definitely encouraging their kids and my kids to go to technical schools, forego the all the loans, the college loans and stuff like that. Get your education and get out there in the working world and start making money, so you don't have those big college debts like what I had and what my friends have had.
Let me ask you something else too. So you grew up on a farm in the Midwest, correct? I got that right?
Yep.
And Dave and I have talked about this at length a lot of the time, is that we used to have a kind of economy where trucking got an unintentional hand up, because we had all these kids that worked on farms growing up. We had all these men who were drafted into the military. And we had a lot of folks who were the sons and daughters of Teamsters. And so in many ways, trucking had its own kind of farm system that it had created. Well, actually, that it didn't create, that it just was very lucky to kind of stumble into. All three of those things, there's no more draft. The family farm has gotten smaller, more corporate farms, and there are less Teamsters today and less people passing down that generation. Do you feel like this is where the future is if we're going to get back on track with quality drivers out there? Because there's a big debate about driver shortage. I fall on the there isn't, but in regards to there is a quality shortage of quality drivers. Do you feel like that what you guys are doing is directly aimed at kind of solving that problem?
Yeah, that's kind of our goal here is to train not only a steering wheel holder, but a driver, somebody that's at least familiar or semi-knowledgeable of the industry, to get, don't want to say so there's no surprises, but kind of give them a full picture view of the industry so that they can assess for their family, for their situation, for their career, what they want to do.
One of the things we always focus on here in Education Station also is not so much the students, and we'll talk about them in a second, but it's the trainers. And we're very fortunate today to have two of them. Jim, can you kind of tell us about your 12 years of experience driving and why you actually ended up gravitating and getting pulled into the process of training folks to be the next generation as opposed to just being out there and doing it?
Yeah, I've been driving for about 12 years, and I started in Las Vegas. I was in IT for about 26 years, and I got kind of burnt out. So I've always wanted to be a truck driver. So I went to school, got my license, and I've done a couple of years over the road, actually more than a couple of years over the road, at different stints, hauling a bunch of different flatbed stuff, drive in, worked for Walmart for a couple of years. And then I just thought that it would be a good opportunity to mold some people into truck driving, like Mike was saying, is to get people on, that are quality drivers, not just steering wheel holders, but to be able to teach them how to actually be a good truck driver and to be a good person in society, to be a good workforce, to be a good employee for different people. So,
Do you feel like your experience in IT and then the kind of pivot into trucking actually kind of uniquely positioned you? And I'm sure, by the way, that you are an absolute quality driver, given what your resume suggests and the people you've worked for. The kind of people you've worked for don't hire the mediocre. But as a person who comes to it late, not kind of growing up on a farm, or at least being exposed to the kind of farm culture or the kind of cultures that actually get you in trucking early, that you feel like you had to master that skill a little bit later, and therefore it uniquely positions you to be able to teach it. Am I making sense with that?
It does, yeah. I had a strong passion my whole life. I've always wanted to be a truck driver, and I got into IT on a kind of by accident, and it just kind of flew from there. I did it for a long time, but I always wanted to be a truck driver, so I just did a shift, and I took to it. I'm very good at it, and I picked up on it quick. And whether there's, I don't know if I have any advantage of being in IT, just some of the technical stuff, but other than that, I think it's just a passion for truck driving.
And I think, by the way, the comprehensive look of having driven flatbed, fuel tanker, dry van, reefer, semi-trucks across semi-trucks across the lower 48 states and into Canada and beyond. And I was and I'll pivot to Big Mike here for a second too. When we're kind of talking about setting a basic foundational skill, the idea that that's a lot. What I've just kind of listed for Jim there is a lot of different kind of trucks, but each one of them presents their own problems, their own challenges. It's the great light blue collar job in America, I think, to some degree, where you have to be both technically proficient, but also really kind of, what I call hand-eye motor coordination skill to kind of do the job. Can you talk a little bit about how it is when you guys onboard your students, what the process looks like from a pedagogical standpoint, how you get them from point A to behind the wheel of a truck and successfully merging into the interstate traffic? Mike.
Probably the best start is we got to figure out where they're at. What kind of motor skills do they have? What kind of hand-eye coordination? What kind of I don't want to say intelligence level, but how fast do they learn? How quickly do they assess situations? Then you got to figure out what they want for their goals, and then figure out what we need to do to get them in that track or in that direction. With a lot of different industries that both Jim and I have worked in and drove for, been in those boots. We've seen what we needed to see, so we can say, maybe this isn't the best direction for you, or maybe this is a really good direction, but these are the steps that you're going to need to take, the hoops you need to jump through to get there.
It's interesting too, because one of the things I've been dying to ask somebody is that, just like we were talking about with Jim, you've actually got dry van freight, hot shot deliveries, hazmat tanker, sulfuric acid in particular, which, by the way, that's actual hazmat, tractor tanker, vac truck operations. We can go on and on and on about the different routes you've run. But you've also served as a driver trainer with Schneider National. And you work with the Tennessee Department of Transportation as a CDL instructor. Can you kind of distinguish the difference between working for a fleet as a trainer and what it means to actually be in a more classroom, more academic setting over there in Clarksville?
I definitely like the classroom setting. This is where you can actually sit down and put pen to paper and show them kind of what's out there without being in a physical environment. You can actually sit down and have a conversation, a discussion. I think it's easier to learn something on paper or on video and then go out and do something. So you have both the learning by watching and then learning by doing. And I think that's a lot easier way to pick up on things. Some of the stuff I had to learn was on the fly. Some of the stuff I had to learn was from older hands that taught me or took me under their wing. So, and that was learning by going. And if you screw up when you're going, it could be bad real quick. Whereas in a classroom scenario, in a closed environment like this, we can really control how it's learned, the pace that it's learned, and how well it's learned.
Let me ask you something else, Jim. I want to ask Jim a question here too. And I want to talk about the idea of Clarksville in particular. One of the things we've really done here on Education Station is we've tried to kind of let people understand that a lot of these truck schools, a lot of these community colleges mean exactly that. They serve communities. That if you happen to be coming over the road driver in all 50 states, terrific. That's a hell of an adventure. But there are so many trucking needs within a local regional area. Can you kind of talk about TCAT and talk about what it does for the community at large and what it means kind of being in there, what you guys are hoping to achieve with this program as you kind of spread out into Clarksville?
Yeah, sure. It's basically, I think we need to put productive members of society out there. And, we have students coming in from high schools. We do tours, 3 or 4 times a month. The high schools come in, so we tour the campuses. We go over, a quick review of the programs, what they offer. Most of this stuff too is not cost prohibitive for these students. I know there's Tennessee. There's a couple of different. I'm not sure of the names, but there's a couple of different programs that will actually pay for this stuff for the most part for these students. So it just gives them an overview to see what they want to do. What do you want to do in life? Do you want to be a welder? You want to drive a truck? What do you want to do? I think it's great to have something. I come from Nevada, and there's not much like this in Nevada. And I was really impressed with TCAT when I got hired here with what they actually do for the community and the people that they put out into the community and how they're, productive members of society. I think it's a great thing.
Mike, the other thing that I've often found too is that you're only as good as your partners, particularly at the educational level. And I was kind of curious with TCAT in regards to the outreach to the private sector, because you work for Schneider, so a lot of times as a trainer you would be handed drivers. I know I have to feel like there's a story in there of somebody coming up with a CDL and you being like, you are not qualified in any way to be in our trucks. We've got to figure out a way to get you better in an awful hurry. So can you kind of talk a little bit about that, the idea about what it is to kind of work with people in the community, companies in the community, businesses in the community, but how you guys make sure that you're giving them and giving the community what they need from a truck driver. I think Jim's done a really good job addressing creating quality citizens who are going to show up, be on time, and do what they say they're going to do. But what do we do to make sure that the partners understand what they're getting from you guys?
That's actually a big underlying title of our job. Is kind of like a facilitator. We're going to get students in the school, and we got to figure out what the workforce wants. The companies that we work with, the people that want and look for hiring our drivers, the students that come out of the school, we've got to keep that communication open with them. to make sure we're creating the kind of driver that they're looking for, that they're needing. And it could be multiple different, from dry van to flatbed. So it's not just one area of transportation. It could be multiples, school bus, city bus, garbage truck. We just have to figure out what they're looking for, what they're needing. But then we also need to get with the student to make sure that they can understand what kind of lifestyle they're going to have to live. Truck driving is very one of the few jobs that you take a job and you are changing your lifestyle. You're changing your family's lifestyle. You're changing everything about you. If you drive over the road, that's a big change for a lot of people, and they need to understand or at least be willing to go in that direction if that's the direction that they want to go.
Yeah, and
so I think that's. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please. Finish your thought.
So that's important for us as kind of like the underlying tone of what Jim and I need to do, and really any recruiter, any instructor in truck driving needs to be doing that. But we're putting that as a priority for us.
Jim, you have mentioned, and you've really made a big point of it. It's become almost kind of like what the Greeks would call theme in the 6 elements of drama. The idea of creating citizens, creating citizen drivers in many ways that represent their community and actually know what it's like to be that human being. How do you work that in through the lesson plan? It's very easy to say, like, today we're going to learn this particular approach to the cab. Today we're going to learn the rules and regulations of the road. But how do you manage to sprinkle character and a foundation of character in the workplace throughout the lesson plan?
Well, at TCAT, it's important, and it's been drilled into us that we treat the whole time that they're in class here like they're an employee, and we are the employee, and we are the employer, and they are the employee. So we stress being on time. We stress not having a bad attitude. We treat it just like an employee-employer relationship. If they're late, they don't get wrote up, but they get dinged for being late. If they've got a bad attitude, they get dinged for having a bad attitude. So it's that relationship that I think is great to help people. This is what it's going to be like to work for somebody. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to be your teacher. And I'm not saying I'm not friendly with people. I'm just saying that's how the real world works, is that employers, most of them, don't want to be your friend. They just want you to come to work. They want you to do your job, and they want you to go home. So by keeping that relationship as like an employer-employee, I think it's very important, and that's how we get it in there, and then let them understand that this is how you're going to do it.
It's so funny because Dre and I were talking yesterday about this in greater detail. The idea that one of the toughest things in the workplace is we live in the era of personalization. Everybody wants to be everybody's buddy. My mom actually was terrific, and I was in teaching for a long time. My mom actually was a 40-year teacher, 40 years in teaching, and loved every minute of it. And one of the best pieces of advice she gave to every single one of her children who became a teacher, my older brother, my sister, and I, is she said, I want to make this really clear. She said, you can be friendly, and she said, and maybe when the class is over with, you can be their friend, but you're not their friend, you're not their buddy. And that's a really important thing to remember, because at the end of the day, she said, that leads to a familiarity that also sometimes leads to the inability to actually get through to people. And that is a really tough thing for a trainer to understand. We all want to be liked, but more importantly, we want them to walk out with lessons that they can actually apply to the real world, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so let me just kind of also kind of pivot to something else here too. In regards to being able to kind of track students' progress, meaning that once the student kind of goes out into the real world and starts driving, what are y'all's plans in regards to making sure that the people who leave your program leave and then are able to become best ambassadors for your program, if you follow me? The idea that, are you going to be able to track your students and track their success levels? And I'll let you guys pick who gets to answer that one first.
Yeah, absolutely. TCAT as a whole has a program set up to where we are still in contact with our students after they graduate. Years and years later, I don't know what that looks like, but we do keep really close tabs of our students for at least the first year after graduation, and that's any program that comes through the TCAT system. I think it's important for us to, again, with the recruiters, with the businesses that we're developing drivers for, Maybe I have a driver come to me 3 years later and say, hey, I'm looking for a job. Do you have anything? Well, that communication back with the employers, they might be looking for something very specific, and that guy would be perfect for them. So it's good to keep that communication gate open for us. So it's important for us to keep doing it. And I'm going to do it. I know Jim's going to do it, to keep past even after the year that the program for our school is set up with.
Yeah, and the other thing that's so interesting too is, I've always felt that, people, this is one of the places where there's a lot wrong with higher education right now in regards to what's going on in some campuses. But at their best, a campus is not only a place where you go to and then leave, it's a place where you come back to recharge, that you are considered, beyond high school, beyond middle school, beyond grammar school. It's a place where you go back to get professional, satisfaction. It's a place where you go back to maintain connections and all that. And it seems to me the direction you guys are headed in is about setting this place up as a hub so that people can return and check in with you guys and maybe even sometimes upgrade their situation. I mean, it happens in, video games all the time. You go back to the hub and you level up. Do you guys foresee a situation where somebody comes in and I don't know the full breadth of the program yet, where they get that CDL, but then they come back and they say, really want to get hazmat under my belt? Is that something that the program offers?
Yeah, we're going to be offering that in the future, just because we're setting our foundation up yet. But we're going to be getting into like Class B licenses. We're going to be getting into hazmat training. We're going to go into different scenarios as our program grows and as the need arises. The nice thing about TCAT and about our president, our vice presidents, is they're very flexible. They realize what the industry needs, and then we just try to figure out how to get students in that direction.
Let me ask you something else too, in regards to dealing with students. And like I said, once again, this is one of those open questions. You guys decide who goes first. In regards to the light bulb moment with students, what are you seeing? You guys have trained a lot of people over the years. Done a lot of different things. Where do you think the industry is headed in regards to its next generation of drivers? What do you think we're going to see more of? And if you're recruiting somebody to become a CDL driver, because we see that quality and that skill, where are you looking for that student? What does the truck driver of tomorrow look like? Because we used to know they came from the farm, they came out of the military. Where are they going to come from? How are we going to find them? And what skill set are you really looking for beyond just the simple, they can handle a wheel?
I think that it really depends. It depends on how the autonomous driving goes. The electric vehicles, less so much of that, but most of the autonomous. If it becomes an autonomous career, I think you're looking at being a system monitor versus you're going to need to know how to drive trucks. You're going to need to know how to monitor systems. It's going to be more of a I think the long haul, I think the autonomous stuff will take over the long haul stuff immediately, or not immediately, but first, and then it's going to leave more pickup and delivery for, city driving and stuff like that for the truck driver. So I really think that they're going to need, you're going to be more technical. You need to be able to understand and monitor software, sensors, connectivity, stuff like that. With the automation part of it. So that's pretty much, I think, where it's going is more technical, a little bit more technical, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And actually, the analogy I always make is everybody thought that the firemen, given the way building codes and all that stuff were going on, that the firemen would become a thing of the past. But it's actually turned out that firemen are more important than ever. They just have more skills, and that firemen have become kind of community leaders, EMT providers, a whole bunch of other stuff as well. And I think that might be the future of trucking, even for over-the-road stuff. I think that as, it becomes more of robot take the wheel for these kind of in-between long hauls, I think the men and women who are going to be behind the wheels of these things are going to have more skills to address more needs and more customer service stuff and more maintenance stuff, because, we still nobody's really effectively explained to me, if there's nobody in that cab, what happens when something in that cab goes sideways. So like I said, I think there's a big role to be played, but I think it's more in line of what firemen have become from what they used to be in the past. I'd love to get y'all's takes on that little piece of theory.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I think that it's more I think we're a ways away from having nobody in the truck. So like you said, it's going to be a cross drive. You're going to be technical, and you're going to be, a driver. You're going to have to drive, and you're going to have to, just in case something does go wrong, you're going to have to know how to drive the truck. For the most part, you might be sitting back watching it and monitoring the whole thing, and then at sometimes, you're just going to have to deal with it when systems don't work the way they're supposed to, and that's inevitably going to happen. So, especially in the beginning.
Tell me about TCAT and the campus and the atmosphere over there, what people who might want to make the adventure to Clarksville, people who are in Clarksville, people in that community, what they can expect, what that world is like. Because like I said, there's always, even in the most technical of colleges, even in the most kind of community-oriented colleges, there's something that kind of changes. Campuses are places of hope. They can't help but be, because it's the possibility of something new, a new beginning. Can you talk a little bit about that? What's going on over there?
Yeah, the Clarksville is definitely a population boom. We're just on the outskirts of Nashville, which is another big population boom. Even our small little towns, the little mom and pop shop in Littletown, Tennessee, they're growing. So this whole area is just seeing the big population explosion. So there's a lot of people coming in. There's a lot more things to do. We also have the military base Fort Campbell that's very close to here. So there's environment-wise, there's a lot of culture. There's Clarksville 10, 15 years ago did not have the culture that it has today. Same way with Nashville. The whole skyline has changed. It doesn't. The Nashville of 15 years ago is not what it is now. Or it wasn't what it is now. So I bring that brings a lot of other people, a lot of cultures, a lot of ideas, a lot of everything into the area that I think is really benefiting the area. It's bringing a lot of technology stuff. Google set up a factory here. We've got Hankook Tire. There's just a bunch of industries too. So it's they're looking for blue collar, they're looking for white collar, they're looking for transportation people. Everybody's got to move their product.
Yeah, I got to tell you guys, there was a period of time there when I was flying into Nashville on a regular basis, and every time I got off the plane, they were always cutting the ribbon for either a new restaurant or some new shop inside the airport. And every time I'd drive out to Franklin, I'm like, wait a minute, who let all these people into this room? And there really is a sense, and it's actually spreaded to Clarksville as well. It's a really developing community, and I can't thank you enough, given how busy you guys are going to be starting in October. We are so thrilled to have you guys. Jim Fisher and Big Mike Schnepf have joined us. They are instructors at Tennessee College of Applied Technology. That's TCAT Dickson, but it's over in Clarksville. We want to thank you both for being on the air. You got to come back soon. We're going to get you guys back on soon, because I know we're going to have somebody who wants to have a full conversation with you, Mr. Nemo himself. I can't thank you both for making time for us this morning. Have the best of days, okay?
You do the same. Thank you very much. We appreciate the time.
Yep, thank you.
You got it, guys. www.tbr.edu institutions/colleges-applied-technology. TCAT location programs are all over the place.